What you're looking at is an apartment building called the Temple Court Apartments, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. It may look from this vantage point as if it's two buildings, but it's not. It's a U-shaped building, and that's why you're seeing flames at both ends of this, in fact, at all ends of this. And to give you an indication of what occurred here, so earlier this morning there were reports of a man being shot on the 3rd floor. Then soon after, we learned that a fire had broken out there as well. So multiple units responded to that. That man was taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital, and then firefighters were on the scene. It started out with around 30 units in this 4-story building, and then we understood that we have now reached a 40-unit situation when it comes to the firefighters on the ground. And one of those firefighters, in fact, 2 of them had to be taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital as well. But the question remains, is there any kind of relationship between the shooting and this fire? Are they connected in any way? Now, I spoke live with Miami Mayor Francis Suarez a little bit earlier, and he told us at this hour they still do not know, but we know that man was taken to the hospital in critical condition. We also understand that there have been numerous people rescued from this building, and some of them, in fact, were in wheelchairs, and they had to be taken out of windows. That gives you an indication of how desperate the situation was there when this fire broke out. And then, of course, they're continuing to douse the flames and find any additional people inside that building. Hopefully, they've all been taken out. But let's take you to the ground right now to Terry Hornstein. She has been watching this for numerous hours now as well. Terry, you can see the waters behind you. It's just really a flooded situation with all this water that's being directed at this apartment that is still on fire.
Yeah, Betty, we're talking about flooded streets all around, surrounding this area. But take a look. This is the reason why firefighters are still battling flames shooting out of this apartment building here. You can see 2 ladder trucks up there just dumping water into the building. And honestly, you've seen flames shooting out over and over and over, and then the flames subside, and then once again they shoot up, and the firefighters are continuing their efforts to get these flames out at this hour. I will tell you, we've been out here since 8:39 this morning, and it did look a lot different when we got out here. I mean, you were seeing smoke and flames shooting from the windows. Huge, massive plumes of smoke could be seen from blocks and blocks away. So it does look different than it did earlier, but still a massive firefight out here at this time. The streets flooded. They even pulled in a City of Miami fire rescue boat to pull in more water to help aid in this fight. And something that I've found pretty striking out here in the hours I've been out here is just watching water pour from some of these apartment units from the balconies there. You see the water just coming down, which just shows you more of the massive amount of water. And Manny, if you could just show them one time the water down here on the street so you can kind of see how flooded it actually is down here on the roadway as well. And believe it or not, this is much better than what it looked like just about an hour ago. It was just flooded to the point up to some people's knees. And so you can only imagine for these firefighters too, who've been out here for these for hours at this point, how exhausting this is. It is so hot outside, and then you're dealing with heavy smoke and fire as well. So they have set up sort of a cooling station for the firefighters inside that Scottish Rite building. They have water for them, some food, so they can cool off and take a break when they need to, because I mean, they're wearing pounds of gear and then dealing with the South Florida heat, and then all of that heat from the fire, trying to get these flames out of this building. We do know dozens of people had to be rescued from the building. A lot of elderly people living in this building had to be pulled out in wheelchairs. It's just been a really scary, desperate, stressful morning for the residents here, but also for the firefighters. And I do want to mention, you know, we have seen rain on and off, and something that one of the firefighters did mention to us earlier was that, you know, that rain not only helps a bit with the flames, but it helps their firefighters as well cool down because of the extreme heat they're dealing with out here. So the facts that we know, and there's very little at this time, but what we do know right now, we at this hour is one person was found shot inside this building, suffering at least one gunshot wound. Whether that person shot themselves or was shot by someone else, that remains to be seen at this point. But that person was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and then this massive fire broke out in this apartment building here, forcing all of the residents to evacuate, and also forcing this firefight that now has been going on since around 8:30 this morning. We do know two firefighters were taken to the hospital with heat exhaustion. They are stable right now, doing okay. That's what we've been told, but still a massive effort out here to get this fire out. As far as if the shooting and this fire are connected, that remains to be seen. But as you can see, I mean, I'm just watching with you guys here, and as you can see, it's difficult a bit to see, but you can see a ladder truck up in the air there, at least one, that's pretty clear, with several firefighters on it pouring water from a hose. But behind all that smoke, I believe I can see at least two more of those ladder trucks dealing with the intense smoke and flames as well, trying to get this fire out. And it's been an hours and hours long battle at this point. No word yet on what started this fire, but I will mention we were able to, before we started bringing you these live pictures, we were able to speak to some of the neighbors who live here. And a lot of them, as you can imagine, I mean, hard to imagine really what it must have been like to be woken up 8 in the morning, and this is what you're dealing with, having to be evacuated from your building and then dealing with all this smoke and fire. Just a terrifying morning for them. One of the neighbors we spoke to, he says that he lives with someone who's in a wheelchair. They had to be yanked out from the window, unable to get out otherwise. And something we heard from the mayor, this is something that the city of Miami hasn't dealt with in more than 25 years. So that just puts this in perspective for you, the difficulty and just the massive response out here. They're calling this a 3-alarm fire. I asked exactly what that meant, and that basically means when it's a 1-alarm fire, they have a certain amount of units that respond. When it's a 2-alarm fire, they double that, and when it's a 3-alarm fire, they triple that. So again, something else to put this in perspective, just the massive response out here at this time. Just so many firefighters attacking this from all angles, and you also then have police out here with the police investigation as part of this as well. So a very fluid situation, a lot of moving parts out here. Something Miami Police did mention is they are working together with the City of Miami Fire Rescue as well, trying to get a hold on this situation and trying to get this fire under control. And just to speak to the team effort out here, something that one of the police officers told me is, these firefighters are really hot, and to cool them down, some of the police officers were helping to just dump water on them just to get their body temperatures down as well, because that hard work. You can only imagine looking at those firefighters up there on those ladder trucks, how hot it must be, that smoke just in their face, and then they're wearing pounds and pounds of that gear as well. So the firefight out here continues right now. As you can see, we are seeing more smoke billowing out of that apartment building once again. The parts that we can see, they do look destroyed pretty much. So a rough morning out here for firefighters, a rough morning out here for the neighbors who lived in this building. We have asked questions about the connection to all of this, whether the shooting and this fire are connected, and that just really remains to be seen. So again, the main goal right now is to get this fire out, and then they will of course search the building and take care of everything else they need to take care of. But the investigation into what happened here, how this all happened, what happened with the shooting, what sparked this fire, all of that just beginning, Betty.
Terry, I want you to stand by there, Terry, because just take a moment and look at these pictures. They are truly incredible. You can see this smoke just billowing out of this building as we watch overhead with Chopper 4. You see the firefighters trying to attack this fire from above, but it just does not seem like it wants to stop. They have been there for hours, and the smoke and the flames just continue. Now, as it zoomed out a little bit earlier, you could see it's a U-shaped building. One portion of that building, you see the charred roof roof of it. That seems like that's still maybe smoldering, but nothing like this right here where you see the smoke just pouring from the building. The big question is, did they get everyone out? Well, we asked the mayor live on our air a little bit earlier about those folks trapped inside. As Terry mentioned, some were in wheelchairs. Some of them had to be rescued from windows. The mayor could not tell us if all were accounted for, but we know at this hour at least 30 people were rescued from the building. But in fact, we have been told that one person was taken to the hospital. Again, to give you a count, one gunshot victim taken to Jackson Memorial in critical condition. 2 firefighters had heat exhaustion, taken to Jackson Memorial, and one of the 30 people rescued from the building was taken to the hospital as well. And you can see why this is such a dire situation, because it is a multiple-story building, 4 stories, I believe. This started perhaps on the 3rd story, according to reports where that man had a gunshot wound. No indication whether this is connected at all, but at this hour, this is a really active fire that is burning intensely, and you can see just the arsenal of water that's being used right now by firefighters. I mean, look to the left of your screen right now. Look at down on the ground there. It is a flood zone because they are just really attacking this with so much water, but yet the smoke keeps billowing from the top of the building. Now, we understand that this occurred, at least started, on the 3rd floor. There is some understanding that perhaps maybe part of that floor has collapsed. And we also understand that this building is built with a lot of wood in it, which is really sparking the flames here. I want to get to Peter Dench, who is on the ground as well. Peter, we've been watching this from hours. These pictures coming in from Chopper 4, just really remarkable. What are you hearing?
Well, certainly a ferocious blaze, and of course all of this compounded, according to authorities, with the fact that this is a wooden infrastructure, and that's part of the problem that seems so difficult to put out. Now, taking a look at these live pictures right here, let's take a look at the scene here. You know, of course, we're at the scene of this massive fire at the Temple Court Apartments at 431 Northwest 3rd Street near downtown Miami. Now, just to refresh everybody, authorities say they got a call about the fire at 8:15 this morning, found a man had been shot on the 3rd floor. Again, we were talking a lot about this. It's not known if that is connected to this blaze, but again, as you were mentioning, at least 30 people were rescued, many of them elderly, and at least one person taken to the hospital, along with 2 firefighters suffering from heat exhaustion. So many questions about this blaze. Mayor Suarez is saying this is one of the biggest residential fires that we've had here in some time. So certainly an active working scene that's been going nonstop. And at different points we see flare-ups in the flames. So they've been at this since earlier this morning trying to put this out.
Peter, we understand it started somewhere around 8:15 this morning, so that gives you an indication. We're going on hour 5, but of course it had to have started a little bit earlier before those first calls came in and firefighters responded. Now, I hear the noise in the background. I don't know exactly where you are in proximity to this, but I imagine, just take a look around. We're seeing from Chopper 4, that is, above, so we're seeing the active fire being really fought with an arsenal of water. But on the ground where you are, what does the scene look like there? Are you seeing any victims milling around, those who have been inside that building and hopefully were rescued?
Yeah, we're vantage point here. We're at Northwest North River Drive and Northwest 3rd Street, which is a setup point for the media. A bunch of firefighters you see over there. There's a cooling station as well for them. A bunch of people from the building have been taken to a nearby park and have been huddled up there. We've not seen many people here, but part of the problem is that we're kind of isolated. There's layers and layers of water that have come from trying to put out this blaze here. So not too many people wandering by this scene, just very active in terms of the firefighters taking a break here by a cooling station. We've had so many questions about this. Looking at this in the distance, you see it's just been non-stop pumping of water, literally going on now for, since 8:15, as you mentioned. And so that's the latest situation here. Again, we're a couple blocks away from the actual fire itself. It's just simply too dangerous to get any closer as we see it from this vantage point here, right here at this location.
And know there has been an area set up at the Scottish Rite building there for firefighters to take a little bit of break and get some food, as this fire has been burning without stopping for about close to 5 hours now.